Alright guys, so today we're going to be working on plumbing some of the lines on the motor. The radiator will be here tomorrow, so we're not focusing on the coolant system just yet. And I have some other things to figure out with that, and there's going to be ordering of parts, so nothing I can do right now. But what I can do is start hooking this car up with some sweet AN lines. And mainly I have to do the fuel system, so I need a feed and return. This car doesn't have a return, so we're going to have to put a return on it. And we're actually just going to use the existing hose that went to the charcoal canister, or like the evap system. There's a 1/2-inch metal tube that runs from the front all the way to the back, and we're going to reuse that as our fitting for that. So we also put a return bulkhead in the tank. We got some more AN fittings here today. I had to wait to get everything together so I could see what I needed to order, of course. And we have to cut that hard line and put this on. This is a 1/2-inch AN compression fitting. If you guys don't know what this is, this slips over when you screw them together. It like crushes and pinches the line, which is going to give us the seal we need on that 1/2-inch line. So I'm gonna go show you guys the car and what we're gonna make today. All right, so I already put these ones on here just so you can kind of get an idea what I'm thinking. I was gonna run a 90 here, but I figured it'll kind of hit. And I may, not 100% sure, add like a inline fuel pressure gauge fitting. I don't really know if I want to yet. I think this is the return side. Yeah, this is the return, so it'll be over here if I do, which means I'll probably need like another 45. But this way, this one can naturally bend through here, and this one will have a little bit of a flex right here and kind of join up with it. At least that's what I'm thinking. Then they're gonna come over here, and we already have one AN fitting. These are what you would call quick releases. That's what this little thing is here. Normally you'd use a tool to release it. They do make 1/2-inch quick release. Aeromotive makes it. It's like $50, but it's a -10, and I need -6, and it's already almost hitting the booster. So I need the quick release, an adapter from -8 to -6, then a swivel. It wouldn't fit, so I'm going to cut it off right at that nub and then do the compression fitting, and we're going to figure out the tank once we get the tank back in. All right, if you guys have never used these lines before, I only used them once on my 240 because they were on my SR for the coolant lines. But basically, you just slip this over the end, and then you take this piece, which you would obviously unthread first, and thread it in. Now you're supposed to add just a dab of oil to these threads, and it should be nice and smooth. These are fine thread, and they're aluminum, so they can strip out pretty easily. We're gonna, a little dab will do ya. Once this thing primes up, so you don't shoot it everywhere. Spin that around in there. A little bit on the end there too, so hopefully it goes in smoothly and doesn't give us any issue. Now they actually do make special wrenches for AN hoses that won't mar the aluminum finish, but I'm not going to spend all that money on a wrench set when I don't even need it right now. Right, and then now you're going to need wrenches because it is going to get hard to turn, because the way it works is this male piece is actually tapered, and as you thread it in, it basically expands that hose and squishes it out so it seals it. So you're going to need some wrenches to throw on there and tighten that up for good. Alright guys, so I just went and got wrenches. Turns out it's a 3/4 and 11/16. They fit perfect, and using the right size wrench will help not mark these up, because it's going to let it have less play, if that makes any sense. So you're just going to snug these two up, tighten it down, and there we go. And we should be sealed. You should obviously be able to pull on this and it not leak, or not pull apart. And it looks like we're good. Now I'm going to put this on the car and stretch it to where it needs to go and mark where to cut it. Alright guys, so when it comes to cutting, there's a few different ways. There's actually designated AN cutting tools if you are doing this a lot. I'm not personally going to spend, I believe they're like $50 to $100 somewhere in there. And that's affordable if you're doing this all the time. I'm personally not going to spend $100 to make 3 lines. If I was building cars constantly, of course I'd spend that money, but it's just not worth it for me. So what we're going to do is one of the tricks that is pretty common. You're going to use some electrical tape. I actually bought good stuff just for this because there's no point in me using like Harbor Freight electrical tape and it not holding up. And this 3M stuff is some good shit. It's like $7 for this roll though. So I'm just gonna take it, center it up where I want my cut, pull it nice and tight, and I'm just gonna go around twice, and that should be good. Just give her a little pull. Also cut it if you want. And I'm just gonna cut that with the angle grinder, nice and slow, and hopefully it works. Like I said, I've actually never cut this before, so I'm hoping this method works. Alright guys, so we have our cut end here, and you want to try and cut it as square as possible so the fitting gets in there real good. And we're gonna pull this tape off and excuse me, see exactly how good the cut came out, because the whole point of doing the tape is to keep the stainless ends in. Excuse me again, my throat's all messed up. That way when you slip this on, it goes on easier, because this little end is actually very tight, which it has to be. But we'll see. It should be all right. It actually has a little bit of a taper built in just for this purpose, I'm sure. And if you get it in there and it's still giving you issues, just give it a little twist and make sure it's all the way in there. And we got it seated up nice and good. Do a little dab of oil again on here, just a little bit. And make sure, like I said, you start this stuff off square. It'll be super easy to mess up that aluminum threading. And I'm just watching this side here to make sure it's not pushing out, which like I said, it shouldn't be. These fittings are designed to flare out. So I'm watching it. Doesn't appear to be pushing out. And now it's getting tight, so we're gonna need to use our wrenches. And you can also put this in a vise, but I'm not having much of an issue with it, so I'm just gonna use the wrenches. Alright guys, so here the line is on the car. This right here is gonna hit just because the way the quick release fittings are, they can swivel as well. So that is unfortunately gonna hit. We'll just have to put something there to protect the booster. Not that it actually matters, but regardless, this line looks really sharp. It follows a nice path through here. Clears our valve cover perfectly, so taking this on and off shouldn't be an issue even with the hose end. And now we can get to making this one, which like I said, my plan is for this one to just join up and follow this one. I'll probably even clip them together and then tee in down here to the hard line, which we have to adapt next. Alright guys, so as you can see, it's pretty crowded in here because of brake lines and whatnot, but basically I want to cut this right below this ridge, which is pressed into the tube, so you can't grind that out because the tube is actually basically smushed and that ridge is what's left. Get this guy in there like swimwear. You can push him back to the bay now. He dinged up my copper line a little bit, but basically cut it like I said I was going to, hooked it up, got it compressed in there pretty good. I thought this was an aluminum line. It must be aluminized steel, which is like what they use in exhaust tubing. I believe that's what I'm going to guess it is, because it's not magnetic, but it did spark. So I'm going to guess it's some type of treated steel to make it less prone to corrosion. But we got it in there, should be good. The worst part about doing these lines right now is we're not going to know if they don't leak until this motor, or until it's wired up and I can run the fuel pumps. But I'm gonna guess it'll be fine. That's the return side, so there should be the least amount of pressure on that side. So those compression fittings should not be taking the full abuse of the 50, 60 pounds of pressure coming into the intake side, or the inlet side. But I'm still excited and a little bit nervous to see how the other lines hold up under pressure, but we'll see when the time comes. All right, so we're about to make our next line now, from our 45 to the 90 down there. And if you look, unfortunately, there is gonna be like a weird bend here just because of the way these two fittings fall. This one will not sit in here, like if that was swiveled. You can't put that one in there, which is unfortunate. And this is actually a special fitting. Those compression fittings are -8, So instead of using an adapter, which I actually originally ordered, I literally just returned them today. I ordered these special fittings. Both of them are from Frigola, which are -6 hose to a -8 end, which is perfect for not having an adapter and saving space because we can't go too far up because of that booster. So we're gonna figure this line out right. So that last one was a little bit hard to mock up. I actually cut it this much too long, but I purposely left extra. This line, I think it's like $2.50 a foot, I wanna say. It's Summit Racing AN line, not the PTFE line, just regular. I didn't really feel the need to go PTFE. But anyway, I cut it a little bit longer just because stuff is kind of expensive and you don't want to cut it too short and waste it. So anyway, enough talking. Here is the bends that we got working with. This is just to show you guys what I'm thinking. I'm going to either buy or make some type of nice clamp. I'm sure someone makes -6 hose clamps that tie these two together in nice aluminum. And this one's actually probably going to get pulled just a little bit more up this way to take a little bit more of this bend out, even though it's pretty much out most of the way now. And these kind of just have this ugly angle because of the booster. If these were lower, it would work a lot better and you could actually hide these just a little bit better, but it'll still work here. And me and my dad were just talking, I was showing him, and he said maybe we could actually tie this into here, which would give us clearance, super good clearance for our header. Even now it'll clear the header, but this will get it further away, make sure the fuel's not too hot coming in. And yeah, another good thing about these fittings is since one is -8, which is the return, and one is -6, we know whenever I install these lines, I know I can't mix these up. On my 240, I just had AN to barb fittings, which means basically off the Phytech, I had two -6 fittings that just went straight to barbs. So it was just regular, I think it's J9 or some shit like that, fuel line, high pressure fuel line. And it was super easy to mix them up. And there were several times I put like the top end back together, the car wouldn't start because the hoses were backwards. This way, you can't mix the hoses up down there, and you shouldn't mix them up here either because you can see where they go, obviously. But that's it for that. Next, we're gonna have to throw this tank in and plumb up our return right there. All right, guys, so we're about to go underneath the car to do the other compression fitting, which just came in the mail from Summit. Big ups to them. Still waiting on my dual caliper brackets. I ordered them last week. They should have been here by now. Hope they're not lost because hopefully there's more of them. But something to show you guys. Badass Mission Moto radiator just came in. This thing is fucking beefy. Originally, I thought the core was like the same size as the 240, but definitely seems bigger. Anyway, we'll get to that in another video, but it looks pretty sweet. It is kind of weird how like it's out front here and like hangs low. If you're running over crowds, the people are gonna hit there. Anyway, let's go to the back and check out our little fitting setup that we have to throw on the car. All right, so this is actually where the fuel tank ends. This is the filler neck hookup. So what I'm thinking of doing is cutting this tube right here, putting this guy in, then the AN hose will just make a loop back and tee in right here because this is where our AN fitting is on the tank. So I'm gonna cut this. I used the grinder last time just because of where it was at, and because it already had that quick release ridge on it, I couldn't use a tubing cutter. This time, I'm gonna try and use a nice little tubing cutter to get a nice clean cut because the grinder needed a lot of filing to clean it up. So I'm gonna try that out right now. All right, guys, so I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I can do this, but I don't really have any help right now. So we did get the adapter on. We put it, like I said, right in that area. It's so dusty down here. They said this car was crashed in the winter, so there's just salt and road grime everywhere. But anyway, I got this fitting on. It's nice and snug. I mean, I'm hoping that these things sealed. We really won't know until this is up and running. But I need to get the tank in here. There's no one here, so I'm just gonna try and put it in here. It's not that heavy when it's empty, and I'm hoping I can just throw it up there and use my little piece right there and hold it up while I do the straps. So I'm gonna set this up, and you guys are gonna watch me attempt to do this, and I really don't know how it's gonna go. Like, if I'm honest with you, I couldn't tell you. I have faith in myself, obviously, but I really don't know if I can do it or not. so we did get the tank installed by myself. I did, originally install this line like above the tank. I thought that's how it went because I don't remember removing this when I took the tank out. I thought I took it off when I did the undercoating, which was after the tank came out, but I must not have. I must have taken it down before because it wasn't really working. So luckily I was able to undo the line from here and move it because I did not want to take that tank down again. We got it all tightened up. I actually put new bolts up there. The stock bolts are Torx, like a T. They were like a T50, I believe they were, but it was not a good fit. It kept skipping. Luckily, my DeWalt Impact zapped the one bitch out because they're Loctited in, and it was not going to come out. I thought it was going to strip. I was stressing. But anyway, we got the hose made up. Nice, simple guy. These are a lot easier than I thought. And I'm going to throw it in now. I'm going to clean up the fittings up there, and you throw it in. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but basically that taper in there is what actually seals. So you don't need any like Teflon tape or Permatex thread sealer, anything. Just that fitting or just that flare in there will seal it. And I also flush these out with the hose and then blow them out with air because you get rubber and stainless dust and all that stuff in the line. You want to blow that out, and also the oil. So this is ready to go in. We're going to throw it in, and we should be done with the fuel system. All right, guys. So here's the final setup. I'm thinking maybe I could have used like a 90, but they would be so close. So this loop is probably the best option. I am slightly worried about this chafing up here, so I might actually undo the line and flip it so it goes underneath here and twist it in a way that it basically doesn't really contact that very hard. But I don't know, maybe I'll just throw like a plastic sleeve up there. But that's the return line. I do not think that it'll be an issue with this loop in it. It'll still be lower than where it's coming out of up front. So that should work. If not, guys, we'll have to redo it. I mean, this is the fun of doing a swap like this. It's pretty much all mostly custom shit, which is actually really fun for me, and it's a learning experience. So if it doesn't work, we know what we have to change, where our weak points are. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I had so much fun playing with these AN lines, and we're done with them for now. I do plan on doing more. I really had like this kind of stigma of AN lines that they were super expensive, and they're not that expensive, but they are pretty expensive in terms of regular rubber hose, but they're super easy to use, which is like the benefit, and they're reusable. But and I had a stigma that they were super hard to work with, and I really didn't have that much of an issue making these hoses, and I still have some hose left over, like 3 or 4 feet, if I ever need to make anything else. But that's it for this for now, guys. Maybe we'll work with some AN hoses in other places. I don't know yet. But tune in next time. We're probably going to be working on this cooling system and plumbing up this Mishimoto radiator, because if you look, this is the water pump fitting, and this is where it has to go back in. So that's a bit of an issue. So we have to correct these issues, and we're going to be getting to that next time. Have a good one, guys.